guys, we're back after a wee bit of I don't know if we'd call it a winter break, but we had a little kind of mid-season break there for ourselves, didn't we? For a wee week or two. But we're back to look at all the good and the great of the draft system across Champion Europe on Sorare. We're looking forward on this episode, guys. We've got a huge weekend of football before us, and as we're preparing for the show, as we're coming on, there's all the good football is on Sunday. Everything is there, even in Champion Europe, and even without some of the biggest games around European and world football, it's all Sunday. And then we've got that kind of international break. It kind of dies off there from Sunday, and off we go into a little international break. But we've got some great games to look at for the weekend ahead. We'll be talking about draft selections and all that good stuff as usual. But yeah, I suppose probably the best way to move on. Jeremy, welcome. Thanks for coming in, mate. Good to see you again.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for bearing with me during that winter break. Is a good way to say it. It's starting to get cold here in Australia.
No problem at all, man. Great to see you. And Fedo, my man, you've just about made it. The tube strikes could not keep you away from us. You were climbing over people and fighting through riots and all sorts, but you made it, buddy. Great to have you.
I fought my back here, and even through the rain, through the cold London rain, it was awesome. But nothing in the world I would miss this show.
Brilliant. So it's great to get back together for it as well. And like I was saying in the tip-off, guys, all the big action is on Sunday. And for the Sorare aficionados out there, it really gets started at 1:30 with Ajax versus Feyenoord. But in terms of the draft system and all the stuff that we normally talk about here, it's not really anything that will come on for us. But for everyone out there, if you weren't on the TV guide checking it out already, that's where the day starts in Holland. But then after that, at 4:00, France and Germany have got a little bit of action right quick. Everyone's favourite disappointment at the moment, PSG, are at home to Rennes. Obviously knocked out the Champions League. Neymar's out for the rest of the season. There's so much going on. Rennes haven't been that great, have they, guys? But, this is definitely not an easy game for PSG, and they need a win badly.
They need a win terribly. Like last week when they played against Brest, they again had to wait for the 90th minute to be able to score and win against a team that's struggling to stay in Liga. And now there's that bit that you felt like when they finished with the Champions League, which happens every year at the same time of the year, then they're going to smash every single team in Liga, and that didn't happen last week. So I think they're a bit worried. That said, playing a team like Rennes is exactly what Paris needs. Like when they were in trouble a couple of weeks ago, they played against Marseille, and then they raised their level, and they were able to get the 3-0 and the game that we've all seen, unfortunately for me. So I'm sure that when they play against a team like Rennes, who's supposed to be a bit better, it'll be a good way for them to relaunch themselves and to make sure that they get the stats that they want until the end of the season. I say that every single time, but if you look at the Sorare scores of Mbappe, Messi, and Neymar, even though he's not going to play this year anymore, at the end of each season with Paris Saint-Germain, that's when they start racking up 3 goals, 3 assists, etc. So I think they're going to get there, and Rennes, unfortunately, might be the unfortunate guinea pig on their way. To talk about a player that I know you like, and I said that I was disappointed in him until then. I think Carlos Soler is actually a player to look at for that home stretch. He's playing now. He's in the starting lineup for the past 4 or 5 games, and he's actually finally finding a place in the squad with only Mbappe and Messi playing up front, and he's scoring okay. He scored last week. So maybe I think he's at 44 on the draft, so he's also kind of worth it as far as point goes. Maybe he's one of them to have a look at for this weekend and for the end of the season as well.
Love that.
So a couple of questions to one of my favorite French persons. So a couple of questions regarding PSG. First of all, do you think Neymar will stay over the season at PSG?
He says he wants to stay. He says he wants to finish his career at Paris. He's so happy in Paris. He can play football, play poker, go out.
Of course, but does Paris want to have? Does Paris want to keep him? That's the thing.
No, they tried to get rid of him last year. They're going to try and get rid of him this year as well. I think they've seen this year that. I mean, it's again the team is in shambles, like we've discussed several times. So I think if they want to keep Mbappe, they don't want to keep Neymar or Messi. because as every year there's that chat that Messi might go to either Saudi Arabia or Inter Miami. So I think they need to offload one of them too, also just for their wage structure. They have three very big salaries up there. So I think one of the two should go unless Mbappe politely shakes their hand and decides to go away. But they'll match any offer that Mbappe might get. So it'll be a football decision if Mbappe wants to go anywhere. So I think they want Neymar out so that they can build around Mbappe again.
Yeah, I think Messi's gonna stay because he wants to stay fit as well for the Copa America 2024, and so I think Messi is gonna still be there, and I think he likes Paris as well, at least his family as well, and I think of course there's always rumors with Saudi Arabia, but I think he learned as well from Cristiano Ronaldo that it wasn't the best brilliant move to go to Saudi Arabia, especially also in the public eye. So maybe he's not doing that because let's be real, he now won the World Cup, and he has anyways enough money for the next 10 generations of his kids. So does he really need to go to Saudi Arabia? At least he plays competitive football, he trains for Copa America, and maybe tries to do something absolutely incredible and actually win the Copa America again. That would be crazy. And but so I think Messi's gonna stay, if I'm honest. I think after Copa America, he's gonna go to Inter Miami. I think that's his plan. At least that's what I hope, and I think, especially also because Copa America is in the United States, so he just stays there basically and plays in Miami then, and
till the World Cup.
Till the World Cup, basically. So he does 2 years more until he's the World Cup. Yeah, but let's be honest. Like, I love Messi. He's the football. He's the football genius. But this guy doesn't run. Like, he doesn't need to be young and old because he doesn't run anyways. Like the small sprints he's doing, he can also do with 39. He has the power for that. His magic is all in his feet. So I don't see any problem with that. Him playing at the next World Cup at the end of the day. I think he wants to have this lap of honor, especially because it's in America, and a lot more Argentinians gonna be there than 2022 in Qatar.
Yep.
So I think that's logical. And yeah, I have to disagree on one thing, Jeremy, because I think you said Mbappe and Messi are gonna smash after the Champions League. I think they already did. They both had hit the 80, so you're contradicting your own thesis in a way. Because Messi did 85 points, and I think Mbappe did 82 or something like that. So that's pretty
60,
high.
no?
And didn't he do higher?
Anyway, doesn't matter. But
Anyway, he scored. He scored anyway. The problem with Paris is that the core, like except Messi and Mbappe, like I watched nearly all of the Paris games this year because of Messi and Mbappe. But the core is completely rotten. I don't know what's wrong there. This team is not working. It's none of them is really world class outside of those two guys. Not even Marquinhos is the guy he used to be anymore. Sergio Ramos, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt that he's old. He's the best defender probably with Maldini ever playing this game. But now he's old. He's just old. And Donnarumma, I don't know who that guy is when he's playing for Paris. I actually don't know who that guy is because he's not that guy. And Nuno Mendes is a great player, but he can also only run at the end of the day. They're really missing this extras outside of Kylian and Messi, and obviously they're gonna lose against a team like Bayern, who are a complete team at the end of the day. And Marco Verratti, he's a world-class player, don't get me wrong, but he's having 3 world-class games a year, and the rest, either he's injured or he's just bad. And you can't win anything with players like this. So maybe they need some more better, probably especially better midfielders this summer. Like Enzo Fernandez would have been great for them, but sadly Chelsea got him.
Can put any player in that team. If it's not run the right way, they're not going to be good. Every player that leaves Paris Saint-Germain then becomes good again. We've seen last year Sarabia when he was at Sporting, and we're seeing Choupo-Moting at Bayern. The players are good, but if you don't let them do what they're supposed to do. Or like you mentioned Paris against Bayern. Paris plays 3-4-3 all year because they got Mbappe, Neymar, Messi, and then Neymar gets injured, and now we change the whole tactic. Although we have a kid like Ekitike on the bench, or we got other player that we can bring in that position to keep the 3-4-3, then you change it because you change your players. Bayern, there has an injury, the team stays the same. So if you have a team instead of having individualities, you're going to be more successful. Paris is just looking at those are the players that either I have to play because of how much they're paid or because of how good they are. But then you just change the system completely. So it doesn't, to me, we're not talking about players that are bad. Fabian Ruiz was great with Napoli, even though at the end he was a bit hitting a slump. Carlos Soler was great with Valencia. Verratti, you said, is a bit up and down, and I think that's where the issue is, the number 6 mainly. But they have good players. They just decide to play for the 3 up front and sacrifice everything else. And any team of any days, it looks like the beginning of the Galacticos at Real Madrid when they first got all those players in, and until they had a very good coach, they struggled to find a way to make them play together. Except that the Galacticos were in the middle, so you were able to play against. Right now, the Galacticos are up front, and nobody's defending when they all play together, and there's just no system. But yeah, I think we've seen it well with Bayern Munich, right? Like how when is the last time we've seen both Mbappe and Messi being completely inoffensive, completely not a threat? And Bayern did that really well with the way they were in place. And I think that's the main difference between the two teams. You got a team who only play on their individuality, and a team who has a plan, who always have the same tactic, and who's going to shift the players back and forth depending on the tactic, and not shift the tactic depending on the players.
Yes, agree.
I think PSG are a really interesting squad to follow now, particularly on Sorare, because of how many squad players there are that only need the right set of circumstances to come in, and they'll be a mainstay in a powerhouse team and like a workable team. And listening to you guys talk, I've kind of you kind of came to the conclusion as well as you were talking, but maybe the biggest problem with this team is Marco Verratti, because everyone recognises that he is a world-class player. He's amazing. He's this, it's that. But we all kind of know, even in his best version of himself, he's not really a defensive midfielder that will control the game from the back and control the defence, etc. And in the absence of him, they have no one to do that in any case, you know. And with him there, they're never going to spend big to really make that position proper because we've got Verratti, you know. So let's buy other guys that can play with him, even though he never plays or never plays well enough, often enough, etc. So that you know, the wee hamster jumped on the wheel for me, and again, I'm sure these rumours are around. But N'Golo Kante is out of contract this summer as well.
Mm-hmm.
Would somebody like N'Golo Kante, who I'll also throw into this as well, just to finish up on the PSG fest, right? But the PSG have agreed to sign Milan Skriniar as well in the summer, which is a Galactico of a defender to put next to Ramos, Mukiele, Hakimi, Mendes, you know. Marquinhos is, you know, it's some defence are building, you know. So it is just that number 6 spot that they need to sort out in that Verratti position, basically.
It's been 7 years since they lost Thiago Motta that they didn't find a good number 6 to put next to Verratti, and Verratti became good thanks to Thiago Motta.
No.
So it's about time they find someone.
No, Jeremy, that you have to get back, because Marco Verratti is an absolutely world-class player. Like, what this kid is doing technically is unbelievable. No, even Neymar accept that he's superly good on the foot. I'm making you a bet, Jeremy. Get Marco Verratti to Manchester City to play under Pep Guardiola. He's top 5 after the year, 100%.
Well, that's because he'll have to change the way he lives and the way he
100%.
sleeps and the way he eats and the way he smokes 100%. And the way he goes out. And
but you saw that
any player against a coach that is the star of the team will get better.
Absolutely, Jerry. You saw that with Tuchel, because under Tuchel, Marco Verratti was the best after Thiago Motta. Yes, for 6 months. But yeah, but that's him. But you cannot say he's not a good player. Like,
but he's not a world class player. That's what I mean. If you as a player you're not able to put yourself above and you know, be the leader, then you're not a world class player. You're just a great player. You're just another Hatem Ben Arfa or another of those players who's very, very talented, but then doesn't.
I wouldn't compare it to
You're not
Artem
world
Ben
class if you can't lift everybody else.
He can in certain moments. Artem Ben is a little bit hard. Like Artem Ben is in the same category like Adel Tarabat. You remember?
But he was better than Benzema Young. He was better than all the players from that beautiful generation of '87 that we had in France. But if you're not able to be consistent and to be professional, then you're not a world-class player. Verratti is not a world-class player. He's a great player.
What I was going to throw into what you were saying there is I love Verratti as much as the next guy, right? But he is 30 as well. And, he's been at PSG for probably the thick end of 10 years at this point, really, So, like, I don't know, man, thinking and looking and listening to you guys talking about it, like, I think maybe that's an area we could see change from them for sure. The other big game in France to get us somewhat back onto some sort of semblance of as much as I love this as well, I think we've kind of we've went round the posts on it, but which is great. But probably the other kind of two talking points in France is Marseille riding high, really pushing the top of the table, and Will still in his Rem team.
Reims was chill. He's undefeated in 17 games.
He's Irish, no?
English, no?
Belgian? English? I thought he was Belgian.
He's like 29, I think, no?
Oh, I'm fairly certain he's English, but now I'm doubting myself.
No, I think he's English Belgian. He's English Belgian. I think he grew up in Belgium.
Yeah, he's just 30. I think he's just turned 30. And since he took over in, I think it was October or November, he hasn't lost a game. And then this weekend he was able to go and win against Monaco, which is no small feat. Of course, because I was wrong, but I said that Monaco is always great in the second part of the season, and then they did that for 2 games, and now they are back down. But yeah, they're a great team, and we're still waiting to see when they're going to lose. The luck, I guess, as a Marseille fan, for me this weekend is that Reims has been better out like away from home than at home as far as like their defending abilities, and Marseille is much better away from home than they are at home. Like Marseille again this weekend blew up a 2-0 lead in a minute and a half against Strasbourg, conceding at the 88th and 89th minute at home, which is a professional foul at this stage. But going to Reims, Marseille is going to have a bit of work, and I think it's probably one of the games that we don't really know what's going to happen, except that they're going to be goals. On one side, you got Folarin Balogun and Junya Ito, and on the other side, or for Marseille, it's mainly the defenders who are scoring these days. But between Mpemba and Gigo, I'm sure one of those guys is going to be able to go up and score something. Marseille has had a red card last week, Balerdi, and for all the criticism that Balerdi is coping every week, he's actually one of those defenders that is important because he adds something to Tudor style, his ability to play football and his speed. He makes a mistake and a half a game, so he's also costly for Marseille, and we've seen it last week with his red card. But yeah, I think a game to watch. I'd say, even though I put Pau Lopez and Mbemba because they're in my draft team, I put them in defense. I don't think it's a game for their defenders. I think it's a game for Alexis Sanchez or for Balogun or for Matuziwa. But you talk about Reims. I think it's about time we look at those Reims player for Sorare. Unfortunately, kind of feel like it might be a short term, because at one point, the fairy tale is going to end, and after the season, who knows if we'll still can do the same thing on the full season with the full preseason. But right now they're scoring big. Agbadou, Matuziwa, Munetsi, obviously Balogun up front, and Balogun's going back to Arsenal in the off season. So Junya Ito, who's slowly getting into the form that he had in Genk, and that it might have it next year because he won't have Balogun next to him. So a good team Reims, but hopefully this weekend they'll trespass against Marseille.
Should be good. Yeah. I've made a wee alteration to my draft after I have this little chat. So I've put Sorare in just for the laugh, since he says 40 points. The other game that kicks off at the same time as PSG Rennes, basically, is Leverkusen at home at Bayern Munich. Now, Leverkusen, as we record now, have still got a Europa League fixture to play. A second leg against Ferencváros. They're very comfortably going to progress. So I think the only thing we can maybe learn from that is maybe...
Very comfortably... very comfortably. I wouldn't
We might
say
need to
so.
edit this.
Yeah, I
Two
think they
things.
will I think they will
Mate, come on.
progress.
Mate, they're 2-0 up. It's
Yeah, but
Ferencvaros, Leverkusen. Come on, mate. It's a German team in Europe. Behave
yeah,
yourself.
the German team in Europe. You saw what happened to Leipzig yesterday, right?
Aye, but
Yeah,
that's a way to Man City. Come on.
You saw what happened to Dortmund. You saw what happened to all the other German teams. The only one standing is Bayern Munich at the end of this game week.
Aye, but that's Dortmund. This is big German team against littler team from somewhere
No.
else.
I'm not saying
That's when that German might comes to the fore and they just brush people aside. They just go, move aside.
Quinny,
We are going to the semi-finals. Thank you. Get out of our
Quinny,
way. You know,
Quinny
that's what these
mate,
teams
Quinny
do,
mate,
man.
Quinny mate. The thing is, just I'm saying, don't jinx it. That's all.
Well, Ferencvaros are the host city of the Europa League this year, so they are desperate to get to the final because they'll be at home. So
imagine that.
I don't mind jinxing that because then Wirtz won't have midweeks either. I don't mind jinxing that. And they wear green and white, Ferencvaros, so I don't mind that.
Green and white.
Take that, jinxing. Take it. But Leverkusen, I've got tons of weapons, as we know, all across the front line, even in the fullback positions, everywhere really. There's got tons of quality. Xabi Alonso, he seems to be getting a tune out of them. And Bayern Munich just don't lose. But they don't really seem to be that great either. It's kind of odd, their situation now, I think, isn't it? Where we're not like, oh my God, how amazing are Bayern, but it's not like they're losing or anything at the same time, you know? So Bayern versus Bayern, guys.
Yeah, I think Bayern is pretty good at the moment, to be honest. What they're doing on the pitch is amazing. You saw that against PSG when they fully concentrate, then it's nearly unbeatable to beat. It's basically a very,
Did we
very,
see
very.
that against PSG? Did we see that against PSG?
Yes, you saw that. They
PSG was
completely
bad, yeah.
dominated. Yeah,
Mate,
still,
PSG were stinking.
but maybe it was PSG. Maybe PSG was thinking because Bayern was so good. Maybe, I don't know. We will see in the future. I hope we will see Bayern against Manchester City, because then we will probably see how good Bayern really is, in a way. That would be my dream scenario as a Bayern fan as well, because then you can show if you're really the best in Europe at the end of the day. And you saw Bayern against Augsburg. I feel like they did take that serious, but they made so many errors in defense. It's crazy. I think they were just already, like, I don't know what they were thinking. Like, they left so much space for Augsburg to go in. It was crazy. But I have to say one thing, and I think it was one of the first episodes we did to our show, is that I said I think Davis gonna explode in this new system under Nagelsmann, and he did. And what this guy is doing at the moment is absolutely crazy. Like, he gets into the spaces, he gets other players into pockets where nobody was seeing them. He's getting assists, he's getting AA, he's getting goals, he's getting everything at the moment. I don't know. I think the best thing Bayern did is sign Cancelo to put a little bit of pressure on Davis to show what he's actually capable of doing, and he's just manning up and showing what he's made of, basically. And also another thing I have to say, Upamecano in Champions League is a completely different player than in Bundesliga. If that guy, if a game matters for him, I think he's a completely different person, because in Bundesliga, he's still the old Upamecano. He's still doing so many sluggish mistakes. He has a very bad positioning at the end of the day sometimes. And but in Champions League, he seems like prime Maldini. Yeah, you know what I mean. It's it's a crazy guy. And yeah, Sommer is doing really great. I'm very curious to see how they will play everything out at the end of this year, if Neuer is actually coming back and will come back. So I'm really curious to see how Bayern is doing that. And yeah, I think Bayern should win that game, even if they're playing in Leverkusen. Just because Leverkusen has a game on a Thursday, so they will be a little bit pumping from the lungs, basically. Especially because Leverkusen, I think, at least that's my feeling from the basically management is to focus fully on the Europa League to win that, basically, or at least get the most money, because like you can still qualify for Europa League and maybe even Champions League, but very highly undoubtable. So just try to win the Europa League and give your fans something back, like a nice run, like Frankfurt did maybe last year or something like that. So, but talking one thing about Bayer Leverkusen before I say, I think, and I bought him, so I'm also maybe a little bit biased, but I think we all need to look at Ezequiel Palacios, because he is absolutely brilliant under Xabi Alonso, and he shows why he was brought to Bayer Leverkusen from River Plate at the age of 19, I think. So that's what they saw in him, and I'm quite certain he is basically this. He is now a starting. He is fixed starter, because you saw the best 11 of Leverkusen when they were playing against Monaco, and he was playing against Monaco, because that was on paper the best 11 that Leverkusen has, and that in how Xabi Alonso wants to play the important game, basically. So yeah, Palacios looks really great. I don't know how much points he costs, because he has like a L5 of 77, something like that. So I don't know what
58.
58. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
he is
not cheap.
expensive. Yeah, not cheap. Yeah, but like in rare, you can get him for 0.1 ETH. Like, come on, like this. If he is set and he's playing this position based and also aggressive football, Xabi Alonso is playing, he's 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 destined to be really good as SO5.
When you talk about Bayern there, I thought you were going to mention my main Benjamin Pavard,
Oh yeah, he's
who
very
has
good, but I don't like
who's
him.
having the run of his life in Bundesliga. He got that red card against Paris in the first game, but in Bundesliga he's like, I was looking at his AA. I have it right here. 59, 25, 47, 34, 35, 43. So that's 7 crazy AA out of the last 10 games. And you say Upamecano is only good in Champions League and not in the Bundesliga, but Pavard's the other way around. Like, where does this guy stop when he complains every week that he doesn't want to be right back, he doesn't want to be a centre back, he doesn't want to be anything, and he plays that way?
Yes, Benjamin Pavard, even if I think he's not a great player, he's doing absolutely amazing at the moment. And he is kind of still playing as a centre back, because that's why Julian Nagelsmann loves him so much, because on the left side, he basically has Davis, who acts as a winger. And on the right side, he has Pavard, who actually acts like a third centre back. So he stays way more behind than Davis. Usually, he does come forward because he has some good cross, and especially he's a very head. He's very good with the head, by the way. I never really recognized, but he's really good with the head. I think if he plays like that, I don't see any other way that he's not staying at Bayern, and he's actually getting a new contract. And let's see what is happening. There's always rumors of him wanting to get out, of Bayern want him to sell, and so ever. But I think he's also very benefiting loads of Lucas Hernandez being injured at the end of the day. Because with Lucas Hernandez, that would be already a completely different picture. Would he then start that many times or not? And then would he be happy? So I think they need to see. Obviously, for Bundesliga, he's very, very good. Maybe for winning the Champions League final, he's not good enough. But you have other 10 players who can win the Champions League final, so you can basically catch him in a way. And but this season, Benjamin Pavard has been really good, and I can't say too much bad things about him.
Question for you too. You just talked earlier about what happened yesterday and Manchester City making a mockery out of Leipzig with the weird refereeing decisions
Yeah.
of the first 15-20 minutes that might have played a part. Do we see Leipzig coming back this weekend against Bochum and smashing them?
I know. Yes, I think so. Yes, but I'm very curious to see who's gonna play for Leipzig. So I think there's gonna be some rotations going on there. I appreciate Rosa and I respect Rosa. I think he's not a bad gaffer in a way, but I think he's doing a crime to Mohamed Simakan. Mohamed Simakan should get way more playing time. He's absolutely phenomenal. He's a complete defender in a way. Okay, he's a little bit nervous sometimes, but he's young and he did never plays. Obviously, how can he get that out of his playing style? But yeah, I hope Mohamed, at least against Bochum, after they lost 7-0, is gonna get some minutes in a way, or at least start maybe a game because he deserves it. Especially Heinrichs played so bad against Leipzig. Just start Simakan at this point. Uh, um, yeah, I think after Simakan came in, I think they only conceded one. So that's that speaks for him. So um, yeah, no, but almost also back in the discussion again because he's now more like 45 minutes of game time. I don't think he's gonna start yet, but I think he's got the last 3 games he got like 25 to 30 minutes. I think now he will get like 45 minutes of game time, so that's gonna be interesting. And when not better to do this than against VfL Bochum. So yeah.
Love it. I think Leipzig will dust himself off very quickly and just get back to like Leipzig are always disappointed in Europe. Like I've been following Leipzig so closely to the point I'd call myself like a fan abroad, you know, for the last like 7 years or something. And it is always like you know, it feels like every time Leipzig do get knocked out, the round that they're at might be the semi-finals because we've got there before. This time it was the round of 16 or whatever. But every round they get knocked out at, you actually feel in that round this is as far as this team's going to go. You don't feel like and you know, on the face of it, yeah, maybe they could have beaten another team or two here or there or whatever, but you know, they're never really pushing the boundary like convincingly. So I think, and a lot of the team, like I was watching it and see for the last 20 minutes, see watching Yusuf Poulsen and Kevin Campbell and, you know, these guys still running about like it's 7-0. And they're, you know, like it's just like, I think anyway that they've been here and done it. They've been knocked out of Europe before, been sitting third in the league and then trying to rescue some sort of morale from the season time and time again. And I think they're, even against Man City, every time Man City scored, you know, they play Red Bull football to the point of being like idiots, you know, like where they're constantly, it's like they go, it's like they're in training. This Man City score a goal, and it's like the coach blowing the whistle and say, right, do the drill again, you know, and they're just like, right, okay, like dogs, like chasing a bone, like okay, let's do it again, you know, and then the whistle goes, and then they run around, and then it's another goal, and then it's like, right, okay, let's go again, and it's just relentless. So I think that will probably serve them well, just coming back into playing Bundesliga football because they can score 3, 4, 5 goals against half of that league, whereas, you know, against Man City they couldn't score any, you know. So,
Yes.
so I think Leipzig will be fine. Predicting the team, like Fedo says, will be the hard bit, but the squad is so thin now. Olmo was basically like the only sub, like the only decent sub I think that was on the bench. Like everyone else was like youth kids, guys that barely play, etc. And you know, they're very thin at the moment. So there'll be some spots that there's not too much concern there. But in the attacking positions, like almost back, what does that mean for Soboslai? What does that maybe mean for like
Yeah, there's Forsberg, Leimer, Andre Silva, and Werner. You gotta have to
Forsberg?
find.
I think Werner is actually pretty sad at the moment. I think Rose is very
Werner's
happy. I
nailed.
think, yeah, Werner's nailed. He's doing great. He's actually I'm surprised how great he's doing, and he's getting there. I think next season he's gonna be a very good SO5 player as well.
Yeah. I've actually just had a wee look at my drafts. We're talking about 40-point cards that are worth a lot earlier on. And I've managed to draft in on the Bundesliga draft this week Sadio Mane at 40 points.
Ah, good
So,
call.
If you're after a cheapie.
Remember when we started the draft and Haller was at 40 points and everybody was like, go get him, Wally. He's still at 40.
Yeah. Love it. The next kind of like set of games we've got over the weekend, right? This is all Sunday, by the way, you know. 5 o'clock. So right as those games are going on, we've got the Rome derby. We've got Lazio versus Roma. Now, both teams, I think, both of them are still riding high in Europe. Roma's got a difficult game with Sociedad to go, and I can't remember Lazio's predicament, but both of them are, they're within 2 points of one another, and they're firmly in that race with AC Milan and perhaps Atalanta to finish third. Finished in top 4, obviously being the main thing, but between the 3 of them, they can fight in for third. So it's a good Rome derby, and we're having Sarri in one corner and Mourinho in the other, Immobile, Dybala. There's a lot, Milinkovic-Savic. There's a lot of really good players on the pitch for both teams, and like the Rome derby, like both teams in Rome aren't always good at the same time. So there's a wee bit of that going on. They've got good kind of coaches that, whether you like them or love them, that's kind of part of what makes them good. Why I'm saying that. And it should be. Normally Italian games get the stereotype of it's a 1-0 boring thing or whatever. This game shouldn't be like that, should it, guys?
Lazio's playing against Alkmaar tomorrow, and they have to win because they lost 2-1 at home last week. So yeah, they're going to get in there, having lost a bit of energy on the weekend. I agree with you. It's going to be a good derby. I'm definitely not a big fan of Mourinho, but when Sarri does things well, I don't mind his football. So hopefully they turn up. I'm actually, they're scoring a lot under Mourinho, Roma recently, which is, I guess, weird when you know how Mourinho plays. But look at what happened last week against Sassuolo, conceding 4 goals against Sassuolo, and we'll talk about the draft. I love Sassuolo right now. So I think both teams really need to get their points, and they kind of need to get their fans a little bit. Like Lazio did. Did Lazio beat Napoli a couple of weeks ago or something like that? Is that what happened?
I think it was a draw.
Yeah, 1-0 they beat them. Lazio, like when they play well, but I think they've become more of that like strong defensive unit from the middle down than that scary offensive threat. So obviously, Fedo, you've watched, yeah.
Funny fact: Lazio won both games against Napoli.
Yeah, right. Is that Napoli's only 2 defeat or something like that this season?
Probably,
as well?
I think so.
Yeah,
no,
it is.
The
Maurizio Sarri effect.
Yes, that's Sarri. That's Maurizio Sarri.
But they're still both in the run for Champions League as well, which is, it's good to have a Roman derby where there's so much at play.
Big time.
The Derby della Capitale, always a nice thing to see. It's crazy. The fans are crazy. Roman fans are crazy. Like they are really crazy, and it's awesome to see. And Mourinho, Sarri. What else can I say? What you guys didn't say? It's gonna be great. I think it lost a little bit of flair because I think both of them are gonna lose some power on Thursday. But it is what it is. They will still fight for the reign of the city.
I think, yeah, it's going to be one 5 o'clock. It's right bang in the middle of the day. It leads you into the Marseille Rem game or whatever if you're going to watch that. But it also does lead into the other big match in Italy, which is Inter versus Juve. Which it's not necessarily the top of the table clash that we're really used to if you look at the league table and where both teams are respectively. But it's definitely a game that will not be for the faint-hearted. This will be blood and snotters and guts and everything in between, won't it?
I don't know if you watched yesterday Inter against Porto, but they were like, it looks like they thought they could keep that 1-0 forever, and then there was 3 posts and 4 saves by Andre Onana in the last 2 minutes or something like that. So they struggled to keep it, but they kept it. I think if you look at those 2 teams, right? If you look at the squads, they're probably the best 2 squads in Serie A right now, if you look at the actual players. But if you look at how they play, Barella is nowhere near his level. Juventus, we can talk about it for ages. The fact that Rabiot is their best player shows how bad the team is.
Not their best player. Rabiot is not the best player.
Who's Juventus' best player right now?
Danilo and Di Maria.
I think Rabiot is better than them.
No.
More consistent this season.
No. Nobody's more consistent than Danilo. And Di Maria has the games. Yeah,
Di Maria
Danilo
has
is
good
crazy.
games, so he's not consistent.
No. Di Maria is not consistent. 100% not. But he saved them so many times. It's unbelievable how many times Di Maria saved Juventus this
Yeah, for sure. You wouldn't have put Rabiot as one of the best 4 players in that team
no.
at the beginning of the season when you look at them, and he's right now over there. So it shows the troubles that they're in. But yeah, like last week they won. Yeah, they beat. Well, I mean, you might as well beat Sampdoria. But yeah, I think they're just struggling to find their feet. And again, Juventus is the kind of team that when they play against Inter, that might be when they actually sort themselves out and show off. But what is Inter doing these days?
No, Inter has a massive problem in attack. They can't seem to get goals. It's unbelievable. Lautaro Martinez, I think, missed the most penalties in Europe this year. Like, I don't know what
Wow.
he's doing. Yes, with Karim Benzema, the same. I think they both missed 8. They missed 8 penalty this year, something like that, which is crazy. Yes. I don't know why he's still shooting them, but it is another, especially if you have Hakan Çalhanoğlu in the squad, who is one of the best penalty takers. But Inter is just struggling. Inter is very solid defensively, but they lost against Spezia as well. So I don't know. Inter is there is rightfully so rumors of Inzaghi to be fired. Now he's a little bit more safe that he went to the quarterfinal, which is very massive for Inter. It could be that 3 Italian teams are in the Champions League quarterfinals if Napoli basically qualifies. This is crazy. This didn't happen in the last 20 years, I think. This is absolutely crazy. And we might get a Derby della Madonnina in the quarterfinal. That would be amazing. That would be absolutely amazing.
UEFA are definitely going to fix the draw for that. There's no two ways about it.
Hopefully.
I remember last time that happened in 2003.
There's no chance the 2 of them play other teams and win now at this stage. You know, the draw is too good now. Both of them, like, really, well, like what I was saying with Leipzig, you look at that Inter AC Milan team, they've went as far as they should be going in this year's Champions League, you know.
Let's go. I think the derby, we need the derby in the quarterfinals. I think this is going to revive Italian football so much. And it's good for Italian football. They need something like this at the moment. And Inter Juve, Derby Italia. I think it's going to be a very boring 1-0 for someone. I don't know. It's especially because Juve, I think both of them are pretty exhausted because Inter gave a lot yesterday. I think they need some days of regeneration because they were running up and down to defend the Porto players, not to get scoring goals, but defend. So they lost a lot of power. And Juve is playing in Freiburg against Freiburg, which is not easy, and they really need to pass this group. So I think they will play one of their strongest lineups. Juve is a very good team at the end of the day. As Jeremy said, on paper, they're a really good team, a very strong team. Allegri...
On paper, they're so good that Rabiot's their best player.
Yeah, that's the thing. No, but
Juventus.
I have to say one thing, and I'm no Juve fan. I'm no Juve fan at all, but I think, like, I watched him play this year, and thank you for everything you have done for Italy and everything, but Bonucci, it's time to go. It's time to leave. It's time to leave. It's done. You're done, bro. It's finito la musica, veramente. And just every time he's on the pitch, Juve looks so shaky, so bad, so unstructured. It's crazy, especially because he needs to play in the middle where normally Bremer then plays, and then they lose the complete stability. Yeah, I don't know. I would never play. I would like Bonucci. Thank you. Just leave. Go to MLS. Join Chiellini at LAFC. I don't know. But
you're never going to get Allegri doing that, but are you? You need somebody. They need change. They need to change a manager, I think, as well. But Juve don't they really? Allegri's a desperate, out of ideas appointment, you know, and I think that's a big reason for why they're 7th and not 3rd.
I think we could see a Conte comeback next season.
That's not any better, but is it, man?
Yeah,
I see that De Zerbi. Why does that De Zerbi end up at Brighton?
No, because De Zerbi is gonna go stay in Premier League, what I understand.
No, but in the first place, you know what I mean? Like these guys, like, you know, why are they getting Allegri? Yeah, I mean, like, why
I
aren't
don't
they
know.
actually looking at who's the good coaches around and like
De
Not
Zerbi is
like
actually
the
Juventus?
owners.
guys. De Zerbi is a very good coach. I'm very impressed by him. Just saying about, like, really.
Yeah,
No, I don't understand. Especially Allegri. Like, he has no ideas. Like, it's just boring football he plays, nothing else. And but maybe
like I know
that's
that I
what
know they
they
tried
need.
it with Pirlo and it didn't really work out. But see, when you look at Xabi
Yeah,
Alonso, like that Leverkusen team, like imagine you gave him that Juve team. I don't know if they would be.
yeah.
I don't think they'd be any lower than seventh. You know,
Xabi or Zidane maybe as a legend comeback. I don't know.
Zidane would be nice, yeah, because Zidane's got
Yes,
magic around him. He's just like the god of football, isn't he? At this point,
and he's a
He's,
Juve legend, so why not? He's a Real and Juve legend, so why not do it?
it's where he's rumored these days.
Yes, but I think he would fit because Juve needs somebody like Zidane, somebody who loves football and who brings joy back to the players to play football, basically. Because
yeah,
they're
I
all
think
capable
that'd
of
be
playing
key.
football. They just lost the joy.
They lost Weston McKennie as well. I think he was a
Yeah.
part of the joy of their squads as well. But I was going to say there, Zidane probably gives us a nice segue to the main event of the weekend and the main event of your Sunday potentially at 8 o'clock in the evening. It is now we've got a wee bit of a back and forth on this. I think already in the brewing, right? But it is the biggest game in the world. I think the biggest derby in the world. I think it's definitely the most neutrally enjoyed game of football there is by all. It's probably the best way of putting it, I suppose. It is El Clasico. It's Barcelona at the Nou Camp at home to Real Madrid. And yeah, I'm looking forward to watching it. And I can't remember exactly. I know we all kind of shared the same sentiment, whoever it was that brought it up before we came on. But it's El Clasico by name, but is it El Clasico of old?
It's different, isn't it? Fedo was saying that because they play against each other so many times now, it has a different feeling. I feel like look at us when we were young, it was just the two best teams in Europe or in the world
Yeah.
facing each other, and now maybe that has shifted as well a little bit. I mean, to be purely simple, Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi don't play there anymore, so maybe that has also lost a little bit
Yes.
of its romanticism. Barcelona isn't the best team in Europe anymore, but they're sort of like getting back there, I guess, maybe. But yeah, it's maybe had lost a little bit of its charm. They're still a wealth of talent, and the player at least that has impressed me since his untimely call to the World Cup is Alex Balde, the left back. I mean, we were saying how great Jordi Alba was scoring and all that in Sorare, and how at his age he was good, and then this kid comes in and he was 19 years old or something like that, and he's now the starting left back, and he's being really good. It's a young team, Barcelona, again, with a Busquets here and there, and a Lewandowski as well. But I think what Xavi is doing with them is great, and this Clasico might be a bit better than in recent years, just because it's actually very important on the table for both teams. It's basically Real Madrid's last chance to have hope of getting La Liga, and it's Barcelona's chance to just say that's over, it's ours for sure for this season.
Good.
So
Yes.
I think it should be a good game, and again, two coaches that actually like to play football would make that football game on Sunday night a one that we should watch.
No. Yeah, don't get me wrong. El Clasico is still a great game. I think
No,
it just lost. It is still a great game. So, you know what I mean. It just lost a little bit of the flair. Especially also what I have a feeling like I know so many friends of mine. Of course, they were fans of Barcelona because Messi was playing there. But then they still were Barcelona fans. But in the last 2 years, Barcelona lost so many international fans because they're doing so much shady stuff in a way and strange stuff, so that people don't
Yeah.
really want to get caught up with this, and so they lost so much flair around them and so much hype as well, so that people are not and not, like let's I don't want to offend anybody. Like I'm the first guy who says that Serie A is not that what it used to be. Hopefully, we'll get there one day again. But La Liga is also not what it used to be,
Mm-hmm.
and so it is like, let's say it like this. It's not in Sorare terms. It's not two tier 0 teams playing against each other anymore. It's like two tier 1 teams playing against each other, and yeah, that makes a tier 1 game at the end of the day.
That's what they're missing, though, right? Because they've built that well, and now that obviously the elephant in the room, the best players, the best teams are in the Premier League, which is the Super League. Is actually happened, but it's in England.
Yes.
They're just struggling to create that fan base, and that you could have back in the days Manchester United, Liverpool, who was heated and who was followed worldwide by fans. But I think the UK just struggled to do that when Spain really capitalized on that Barcelona, Real Madrid, both on and off the field.
Yes, I remember it was when I was very young. It was Ronaldinho against the Real guys. Then it was Ronaldinho, by the way, with Del Piero, the only one
Henry,
to get
Eto'o, it was a
no,
quality
but
team.
Ronaldinho and Del Piero, they got the standing ovation at Santiago Bernabeu. That counts for something. So that's pretty crazy. Yeah, and then it was obviously Messi versus Ronaldo, which was the greatest match on the planet, and it just isn't that anymore.
Are you
Definitely
guys
isn't the
looking
greatest
at
match in the
any
world
of those?
anymore.
Yeah, are you guys looking at any of those players for your draft?
Not this week.
Yeah, I know, right? They're so hard to play. I have Quinn in my draft, and I was like, "Oh, you're not coming." I did put Lewandowski just because I have him in front, but yeah.
But Lewandowski is not a bad shout. He likes Barcelona, as we know, from Bayern Munich times.
Yeah, for sure.
They're good.
And outside of that, in Spain, we've also got Atletico Madrid versus Valencia, which is kind of a big game on paper, but it's really only on paper. Like that'll probably 0-0 or something. Not much will happen. I'm quite positive, but yeah, like my memories are very much the same of El Clasico. It is normally like I remember like even coming towards the end of high school, and it was like every El Clasico, whether it was in the Copa del Rey or whether it was in the league, you occasionally got some in Champions League. It was like everyone stop what you're doing. El Clasico's on tonight, and it was Messi v Ronaldo, and everything else that went around it. Different managers over the years, Pep, Tito Villanova, if I've remembered his name properly, and Luis Enrique was even there for a while. It was a whole thing. You guys will remember it, and then obviously Fedo was talking about even before then, like the Ronaldinho days and the Eto's and the Henrys and everything. It's always been like, see, back then for me, Real Madrid and Barca, like up here in Scotland anyway, it was definitely everyone kind of felt like they were the two computer game teams that were out there. Like they just had the best attackers. They just bought all the best players no matter what, and they always had the most exciting game against each other because they were both just like, let's just go and beat each other kind of idea. And I don't expect we're going to get that kind of match, but I do think that here, man, both teams do have the ability to turn it on and really go and do something. But I just don't think we've seen it from either of them, like in top gear in a big match this season, have we? Barcelona are in the Europa League, for fuck's sake. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
Yeah, you dominate
maybe
Liga and can't do anything in Europe.
yeah, maybe we saw it from Real against Liverpool, the comeback, but other than that, no.
yeah.
Real Madrid and Champions League every single year, like, oh, they're done. Oh wait, no, they're not done yet. Oh, no, they're not done yet.
Yeah, I
Every
think
single year is the same story.
I think we recorded a podcast the same
Yeah, true.
as today, and we said, "Oh, Real Madrid is done," and then like after we finished the podcast, we said, "Oh, Real is not done yet."
It's still 0-0 right now, so we're not missing out on that crazy game.
We're not missing out on anything at the moment.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, listen, it's been a lot of fun, guys. I look forward to catching up with you again next week. Good luck to everyone that's tuned in. Good luck with your drafts and all the rest of it. Look forward to catching everyone in the comment section. Any sneaky draft picks you've got, what you look forward to this weekend, and the stuff. And also, if you want to find the guys on social media and all the rest of it, all the links are in the description of the bio. And catch you later. Feda, Jeremy, thanks a lot.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Quinny.